Hey, this is Brett Bumeter. I'm with Warren Whitlock, and this is the ZetaMining Show. Today's episode, we're going to talk about steps to fix a broken podcast. And I'm calling this part one because we're going through the early steps, and I'm sure we'll probably have more to cover in the future, and we'll pick those up in future episodes, not necessarily the next episode. So how are you doing, Warren? It's good to see you again.
Hi, I'm flailing. So,
Yeah.
I think you put it right. We're now, what, 20 episodes in, and so we had a discussion after the last show about where it was going. And so for anyone who listened to all of show 19, you deserve a special medal. Let us know, and we will send you a medal, the email version of the medal. Thank you for bearing with us. And let's take some of our own medicine and some of what we've learned and apply it to our own podcast today.
That's right. We were flailing around, and a couple of the areas that we were flailing on came from some of our initial plans. We kind of brainstormed into this show after doing lots of shows last year, lots of different types of shows without an actual show title. And when we put it all under one bucket and started doing these regular shows, we found ourselves, and it kind of culminated last week, talking about a number of topics where we're responding to the news, the trends, something we kind of wanted to do from our brainstorm, but we weren't bringing our mojo together of solving problems for people and showing how to solve problems, which is where I think we help people the most. And that's something, Warren, that you do in your work every day with people, and it's something that I do every day in my work with folks as well. So we wanted to stop flailing and fix the show because, just a quick self-assessment could see we weren't doing what we needed to do.
We were making a mistake that a lot of people make, which is we decided to come up with a concept and a bucket, as you said, and that bucket was too big of a bucket because we wanted to be able to throw anything we wanted into it. And then then the bucket expanded as the weeks went on, and we found more and more to talk about. You and I are friends for many years. We have a lot of shared experiences, a lot to draw on. And of course, different views of the world, and just all over the place with that. So while it's entertaining for us to talk to each other, it wasn't what we wanted in a show, which is specifically how to. And so on this particular show, we're being the naive rule breakers. When other times we might be, if I wanted my blog fixed, I'd come to you. If I was looking for a publicity strategy or a way to do social media and content, come to me, and we're experts at that, but we weren't applying what we know to our own show, which is, again, the myopia that everybody has when they're doing this sort of thing.
That's right. So we needed to move into creating a new plan for ourselves. We needed to kind of zero in on what it was that was working or what wasn't working. I think we were doing a good job of showing up regularly for the show. That was one of the things that we didn't do great last year when we didn't actually have a show name. Getting here every week at Tuesday at this time and shooting the show. But oftentimes we were coming in off the cuff and talking about whatever the topics of the news were. We didn't really sit down and plan out how the show would go and what topics we would hit and how that would actually help and show people where we were going, how we might be able to help them. And, we wanted a show with a purpose. We didn't want to be just two talking heads.
While we wanted a show with a purpose, we also knew that we were going to talk about things intelligently and draw people in there. And I think you hit on what the number one problem I see with podcasts is getting it to having some sort of regularity. So this year, I'm now able to tell people I'm on 4 shows every week, and I would say on average, it's somewhere near 3.5, 3 3/4 of the 4 shows get done every week. I've missed weeks on all of them for various events and whatnot, but overall, the regular schedule is really helping that I'm honing what my content is. And now back to what we want to do is really help somebody. And I think we have some experience, 20 shows in, just on this show to share. And outside of that, of course, I would say we do a much better job on everything but our own show. So let's go ahead and make sure we cover some of the things. And that's our That's our goal today and our purpose. And come the end of this show, we expect you to either be commenting, "Great show, I learned just what I needed," or "Boy, you guys are still missing it." And we'll find out here in a few minutes. So stick with us and maybe you can fix your broken flailing podcast too.
Right. So we wanted to, with each show going forward, we want to do a couple of small things. We want to keep the shows a little shorter. We're shooting for about 30 minutes, give or take. But we also want to sort of wrap up the show with some action items that people can take on whatever topic it is that we're covering. And for the reboot that we're doing on our own show, we're going to kind of leave you with our action items. These are action items that just about anybody could potentially apply in a similar situation as well. Right, so our first action was we needed to rework our plan and get things a little bit more organized on what we were covering with our shows. Simple enough.
Sure, and I think we came up with a formula. I like to put things down to as simple as possible. You know, why should somebody listen and how it's going to help them, and then the story, the guts. You can't just it wouldn't be. I could do a quick one-sheet checklist or something to have you help your podcast, but that wouldn't tell you where we're coming from and who we are and build the bond of that. And when you're doing a podcast, it's something you want. So kind of call that the story in the middle, and then the action items, which is definitely new for this show, that we're going to be listing out what action items, in this case, we're going to take, but I think they are action items just about anybody could take and help with their podcast. And number one on that has got to be that you do the show regularly. Even a bad show every week is better than perfection, you know, once and never do it again.
That's right. We were hitting that. We were showing up and getting the show done regularly. We didn't always have, you know, I was coming up with topics sometimes just out of the news or things that have been, you know, running through social media a few minutes before the show each week. So we sat down last week after the show and we put together a list of a number of different topics that we wanted to cover. We outlined how we were going to cover those, you know, why that topic was needed, why we needed to cover the topic, how to zero in on that topic, you know, who's it for, who are we solving the problem for, and then our action items. So that was the getting organized portion of what we were doing. Coming up with shorter shows that focused on the solutions, you know, trying to avoid getting, you know, into the quagmires of some topics, you know, the super 30,000 feet level topics, you know, trying to bring things back down to earth, how to use something practically and get things done. And then, so we put together a topic list, and then we needed to search for, and this is something we've got to do going forward. We need to search for some guests. We need some more people to mix this up. You know, we can cover topics, but we need to search for some guests, and we're looking for guests in general that would normally fit within our scope of clients, the type of people that we normally deal with, because that's where our strength is. And so those are some of the quick action items we came up with there. Just to recap, you know, we had to rework our plan, we had to show up regularly, shorten the shows, focus the topics, come up with a topic list, and we needed to bring in some guests because two talking heads on a topic gets a little stale week after week just to, you know, to come in and look at, right?
Well, one of the things I've learned from this format and doing this with other people and whatnot, again, I do another hangout where it's generally two people. We've had a guest on one time, and we're not quite to 20 shows. We're, you know, a month behind ZetaMining. And yesterday, I had one idea minutes before we started, posted that, and we wound up with a great discussion. As a matter of fact, it covers what our problem was last week, so I'm going to bring that up here for just a moment. And you can see more on my Daily Warren channel. That show, I think we're kind of starting to call Connections, but we were even less organized starting out on that one. So two things. One, you mentioned something about us shortening the length and tightening it you don't want to go too far, because then that becomes what we used to do, was short little discussions covering a topic and telling somebody how to do something. The stories do belong in this kind of a podcast because we have a lot of experience. We want to share that. And then the other thing, which was the topic of yesterday's show, is this, you know, for lack of a better term, we can shortcut it, say getting into an argument. And
Right.
you know,
It
and
was
just
a crossfire debate too often.
right, yeah, exactly. And the thing is, you and I have differences of opinion. Well, that's not what we're here for. We're not here to sort out, decide one of us is right. Never has been that way, and I don't think we'd be very good friends if we had to rely on, you know, on taking sides and having a winner, which I don't believe in the first place. So yesterday we had a lot of talk about connecting and networking with people that you don't like, and I think that's apropos here. This isn't about whether or not you like somebody, and of course in that show when we're talking about making the deep connections with your network, we're talking about love. We're talking about that's something you can do, you know, universal love for everybody. You don't have to like the person, you know, like a relative. You know, you might not like them, but you have to love them and treat them decent. And I hold that we should be treating everybody like that. And again, that's where I was coming from. You want to see some examples of getting carried away and not having any kind of focus? Show 19 is right there for you to look at. 18 would probably be a pretty good example too. So when you decide you're going to have enough structure to carry you through on that, that works. Again, in the personalities that go on my other show, it doesn't matter what we talk about, it comes up with that being deep connections and loving and not having structure. That's a big thing that we talk about there, and that's me. But coming here, I think from the start we were talking about what could we do, if not a makeover of somebody's site, then something in that vein. This is one of the things we talked about doing last year when we discussed this. And sure, it'd be great. So if you want to volunteer to be a guinea pig to have us look at your site or decide what else we're going to do, or if you have something to add to the conversation, volunteer. That's what the comments are for.
Yeah.
And we'll do that.
And just to spark the brainstorm a little bit, if you're out there, feel free to hit us up with suggestions via Twitter or Google+. Throw in a hashtag of ZetaMining if you like. But some of the topics that we're looking at covering for the future include, you know, do or why don't small businesses find enough time to tweet? Is your website running too slow? And what do you do to fix that type of thing? Do small businesses, you know, along the vein of the Twitter concept, you know, how do businesses find enough time to work through Facebook and manage those connections and conversations? Monitoring social media, how can businesses do that more effectively? You know, we brainstormed up a couple topics of things like, when is my hosting company for a website a problem? And, you know, the potential side effect of that is, when is it time to make a move? And a number of other items. Warren has a regular meme going covering auto DM, auto direct messages through Twitter. You know, the stupid auto direct message of the day kind of concept. There's a lot of bad practices out there, but you know, one of the topics was, how do I come up with a good you know, reply for an automatic direct message? So these are some of the topics that we initially stormed upon. After the show, we're going to brainstorm again while all of this is fresh in our head, and keep adding to this and developing this out so that we can be ready for episode 21 and have these things in the can and ready to run when we light up the show and start engaging people a little bit more.
So we do have the meme for this time. We have that we're going to go out and share to people that we are looking for that kind of input. So that, I think we presented that better than we have before, that we do want more people involved with it. And look at me. I'm not talking about any things you put on the list, even though it triggered a lot of thoughts just reading me the list. One being that maybe we're a little heavy on things called social media topics, but who knows? That might be what people want to hear from us about. So go ahead, let us know in the comments, and we will work around to helping you out. I think I'd really like to feel like every week when we get done doing the show that we've left somebody with something that they can do better, and if that's one person, their website, or that's everybody about a new concept or a concept that we might think is basic that a lot of people ask us about, I think that's just a positive way to go.
I agree, and I would also maybe end on the concept, if you think it's broken or if you think it's not really performing the way it should be, don't be afraid to jump in and work through a fix. It's better than letting something die a slow death on the vine. Jump in and turn things around. Don't wait for things to get too far along. So, is this a good place for us to wrap up, Warren? I think
we're doing great. We've shortened it, and one of the things that I don't know if it's on our agenda or the things to talk about, but we definitely should add in and say right here that if you have a podcast, if you have a blog, if you're creating content in some way, one big reason to do that is to get yourself known and the company you represent and the products you're trying to sell. That's fine. And the other thing is to find sponsorships and look for the income in it. And that's certainly something that we're trying to tighten up here. And of course, that's going to be a thing we're covering, if not on the list for a specific topic now. But yeah, making some money off of the podcast is definitely a good idea.
Yep. No, I think we're both of the opinion that if you're going to do something and you want to sustain it, it needs to earn its keep.
So there's a whole concept about what I've found in helping to fight poverty. Even it's got to be a part of it. If it's not self-sustaining, it's just a good act or a promotion. And so every business should be, and we'll talk about that again. So I know you've got those notes. Why don't you go through what you had, and then we'll close out with a couple more comments.
Right. So just to recap the list of items, and this has grown just a little bit as we've been talking, but rework your plan when once you identify that the show's broken or need some help. Run a regular show. Come up with a focus topic and shorten your shows if possible, especially if you're broadcasting to YouTube, which we are. Put together a show topic list and also kind of an approach to how you're going to cover those topics. From our perspective, we're searching for guests, but we're searching for guests that are sort of like our clients, because those are the people that we help every day. So we're looking for some of those subjective examples of people that we definitely know we can help, and we want to help other people that are in a similar place that they're in just by watching the show. And finally, we had some technical, not exactly a process issue, putting together good descriptions with our show, just kind of running through the Google Hangout to YouTube process. But as we get more organized and as we've utilized this plan, it's going to be a whole lot easier for us to put together good show descriptions, both before we launch the show so that we can bring in some visitors, live visitors, but also after we publish that show to YouTube so that people can find answers that they're looking for just through YouTube searches and things like that. So that's what I had for the list. Anything that we need to add?
Well, yeah, you mentioned that we have a show on YouTube. I know we've discussed whether or not it will always be on YouTube or what else we can do. That certainly is a topic we want to get into at some point. And again, structuring so it becomes something like a real business. And so we're at a milestone, 20 shows in. We have produced these shows. Going forward, we want the next 20 to be something that we can certainly be proud of. And I think I can't overemphasize that idea of if it's broken, you're fixing it while you're running. If you stop, my tendency has been that once I stop, things are gone. And I've seen some very inexperienced, without expertise of things for content of the show, start a show and do a show every day, every week, whatever their schedule is, and become quite proficient in a short period of time. And so thanks for bearing with us, and we're going to get better on this particular thing, which is new for us. And if you're looking for more specific help in one of those other areas, and what we say resonates with you, reach out. And if you'd like to, suffer through having us tell you what's wrong with your business inside, I think that's great. And you put it so well there that we want the kind of people, and you called them the kind of people that would be our clients. And we're not saying we want you to come on because we're going to do a sales pitch. What we want is the kind of people who don't normally appear as a guest. If you've got a best-selling book on how to do social media and blogs, well, it's not that you're competition. It's just that that's what other shows do.
Yep, so
go ahead and do that. And we want to say we won't bring. we won't bring on a guest, but we're not looking for the experts. We're looking for people that we could possibly help or have a different perspective, because you know, a dog training website would be something I've never worked on before.
Yep, and it's the folks that ask questions. You know, maybe it's something you're stuck on. Maybe it's something your business has been stuck on for 2 or 3 months, and we very well might have an answer for you. Sometimes too, it's just the different perspective that a question comes in that helps us to find that great answer that we would have never found without the prompt of the question in the first place. So all those different views and perspectives definitely help. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're interested, or even if you've just got a quick question that you want to ask, hit us up. You can talk to us through Google Plus, on YouTube. You can catch me at Brett Bum on Twitter, and you can catch Warren at Warren Whitlock on Twitter as well. And if you want to throw in the hashtag ZetaMining, that's fine. Or if you just want to ask a question, we can kind of go from there. And maybe we can potentially answer your question there, or we might answer it on the air with you if you want to join us, or we might just bring it up as a topic as well if you're not available. So I think we're about ready to wrap this one, Warren.
Yep. Tune in next week and see whether or not we survived us changing. But it seems like we did, and we'll be here next time.
That's right. So you can catch us. If you've missed part of the show, you can catch this again at youtube.com/ZetaMining. Please consider subscribing if you think that'll help, if you think shows like this will be of interest in the future. And you can also catch us at ZetaMining.com. And we appreciate your help, appreciate you listening, appreciate you watching. Thank you much.